I think it's important to premise it by saying that no one was there when I was called.
Ooh.
That's deep. That's a word.
Oh.
Like you were not there. You were not there.
Yeah.
One. What God changes in one's life is a person's character. He works on the character. Does not take away the gifts that He's bestowed upon you to advance His kingdom. Right?
Marriage is really two people being strong at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Right? Really.
Sure.
It's really, you're really at a point where both of you are here. You know, so sometimes I'm here and then he's there and then I need to draw from his strength and vice versa. We also go into marriage with a lot of expectations of self-fulfillment, right? We make it about us. What's in it for me? You go in and you're like, what can I get out of it? You know, and if I am not getting, then this is not working, right? But marriage really is a constant dying to self, which was an interesting revelation for me. Right?
That's what my mom says. My mom, buga love
Welcome back to our podcast.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, beautiful people, Dream Team, to another exciting podcast of Here's a Thought with the Max. My name is Lerato Macheta.
And I'm Phetola Macheta.
The ever so beautiful. You look so gorgeous.
Thank you, baby.
Stop it. I like it. Hey? Is this you? Hey? Guys, look at my wife. Guys, can I choice? I keep on telling you guys. Can I choice? Yeah?
Thanks, my love. I always get so uncomfortable.
Yeah, she gets tongue-tied.
I get embarrassed.
Because I still got it. Praise God.
But guys, today I'm so excited. So we've been trying to get this couple, well, we've been trying to do a play date with this couple for the past 2 years. So now I'm putting them on blast today. And it just never happened, right? So we met them at an event and we absolutely fell in love with them.
Yep.
We know that they are your faves as well, and they are here today on our podcast. Who do we have, babe?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, beautiful people, we have got Kabelo, Love, and Gail MABALANE. Make some noise right now. Come on!
Do people still call you Love?
I am. My kids call me
So you're
Bugala.
Pastor Love now.
When he walks in
My
the door,
PA calls me Pastor Bugala.
Oh wow!
When he walks into the house, the kids go, "Hey, Bugala!"
That is so
That's so
cute.
dope. Where does the name come from, actually?
So I was a massive and still am a big fan of Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
And she used to call herself, she still does, I guess, El Boogie.
Yeah.
So it was like a derivative of that. That made sense at the time.
I never knew that. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't have known.
No, like how I arrived at Bugala from El Boogie.
El Boogie.
That I don't even know.
Yeah.
So guys, we have you here today. I'm so excited. So this is our pre-play date, ne?
Wow.
You are
I'm
here
going to
by
pull out the messages now because you're putting us on blast, but it's like
the grayed out messages. But but guys, so I'm really interested. So I know your story. I've heard Gail in different interviews talking about how you met, right? So for those who do not know, we would like to hear briefly how and where you met.
Your version of my version.
Wow, your version, I guess.
Hey?
Your version, isn't it the same version?
It is the same version.
Okay.
Let's do both. We'll be diplomatic.
No,
Yes.
it's the same.
It's the same, ne? Okay. It is the same. I don't know why I thought maybe you had a different version. So I used to run, and still do actually, a connect group, home cell, for people in the entertainment industry. And you invited, just by the way,
Yes.
to the next one.
Thank you.
So I have industry folk at my place. We get together and pray, and I share the word. And one of the people that was in the Connect group worked with Gail on The Wild, Dumisho Masha. And I remember being at a U2 concert when U2 came out here last at FMB Stadium. I didn't know Dumisho was there. I was there with a group of friends, and Dumisho, on the way to the toilet during the break, he was coming from another suite. I was coming from another suite. He was like, "Dude, I met your wife."
Oh, wow.
He didn't say that, for real.
Sure.
I was like,
That's what he said, like verbatim.
verbatim. And verbatim, I said to him, stupidly, I was like, "But if she's so cool, why don't you go for her?" But I'd forgotten he was married.
Also, he's
sure.
like a brother, so probably
Yeah.
he also wasn't like,
Yeah. And then I'm gonna bring her to Connect group. I'm like, sweet.
Hey, and did he try? Because I already had another Connect group that I was going to.
right.
And he would invite and please come. And I'm like, yo, I'm from a small town. I'm from Kimberley, so my Connect groups are tiny, and like not a lot of people from the industry. So I wasn't really keen because I also didn't know what to expect. So I was just like, no, I don't want to come. I don't want to. And eventually I was like, okay, fine. I think we were coming from work. We were shooting that day, and he's like, today we're going. I'm like, okay, cool. And I go. And it was at his house.
Yeah, and I remember, and I think this is also a very important tidbit to add, is that he was like, you must see her. She's with me on The Wild. And I remember saying to her, I was like, dude, to him rather. I said, I don't care how hot she is, because at this stage of the game, it didn't matter. Because I'd made decisions too many times prior with only how somebody looked, right? And I remember seeing her, I was like, cool, she's cute, but that's just not going to cut it, right?
And this was when Gail looked like Halle Berry, guys.
Halle Berry looked like me.
The Halle Berry.
Come on.
No, but he
Let us-
always jokes and says, I was home delivered because I went to the home cell at his house. And he's like, she was just home delivered to me.
Because she was. And I think that speaks to, those people listening to us today, trusting God for a wife or a husband. I heard Christine Kane say one day that, be busy about running towards Jesus. Your potential suitor is running towards Jesus. And somewhere along the line, the
paths will collide.
Connect. And she showed up that night, and as true to form, shared the word, and I usually, after I share the word, go around the room so people can share their experiences, what the word said, or how their day was, or whatever. And it got around to her. She opened her mouth, and
That was clearly a moment. Let him have that moment because when you open your mouth, that was a moment.
yeah, because for me it was okay, let's hear.
And let me tell you, I'm also from Kimberley, right? So I
Sure.
came in these boots that he eventually confiscated.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it was cold.
She wasn't there to impress
I was like,
anybody.
in
She
my
was
pajamas.
like literally,
I was like,
in
my pajamas, and I had this blonde hair, which was for the character, which was at the time in a very bad state. But I was like, okay, fine, I'll go. Because I was going to church, so I wasn't going there to find anybody. So I was literally, eventually it's like, now that it's been a couple of months, boots, can they just go?
Yeah, no,
Because they were suede, but they were tired suede. When they just worn out.
When you are going to this home cell, Gail, is Dumisha having a very candid conversation with you
No,
as well?
I was going to church.
Got you.
I was just
Okay.
going
I think
to
that was just boys in the background
I'm with
going.
you.
"Wait,
Yeah,
Kim
I
Fana
wanted to be
Kitotsi
clear,
Mu."
so
I've
that-
got
Yeah.
I mean, I was just literally going to church. I did not know.
She opened her mouth. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. That's what the word says.
Yeah.
And Struce Bob, as they say, right there and then, I was like, that's it.
What's funny is that I said to Tumisho on one of our days of working, I'm like, you must, I didn't say find me somebody, but I think there was somebody I may have liked, if I remember correctly. And he was like, no, not that one. I'm like, oh. You've been in the industry for long. Connect. He's like, hi, no, not that one. Yeah. Meanwhile, he had someone in mind. And I mean, he eventually was the MC at our wedding.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a very, very good friend.
Sure.
Sidebar, do you believe in love at first sight? And whatever that means? What does it mean to you and do you believe in it?
Yeah, I guess that moment could have been that, but it was...
But it wasn't, though, because you waited for me to speak. Maybe at first open your mouth, not at sight.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I mean, for me it wasn't, because I also got there and I'm like, quite the artist, okay, fine. Okay, we hear the word. And I didn't go away like, oh my gosh.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't. I think we went on our first date, and when we started spending time, you get to know him, we get to know each other. That's when you're like, okay, I like the person, because also with the industry we're in, it's very difficult to even lean into love at first sight because we always put our best foot forward. You just look at social media, what we choose to share, what we don't choose to share, and you know that what you see is not always what you get. Sure. So no, it wasn't one of those. It was like getting to know him and then falling in love with the person that he is, because also he's been this artist for so many years that you think you know who it is, and then you meet the person, it's not. I mean, I know Kilipanzola, but deep down.
Teddy bear, Mtwana yam.
Shame.
Oh, fra teddy bear.
And he's not joking. He's not joking.
And you guys have like two beautiful kids, Zoe and Kumo.
Yeah.
I remember the one time our kids started learning the Lord's Prayer because we heard Kumo. We saw Kumo on social media reciting the Lord's Prayer, and I was like, babe, I went to Lerato because Lerato put the girls down for bed. I was like,
Abuti, please. People are,
And I remember not long ago, Zoe was doing Psalm 91. That's like one of my favorite Psalms. And I still don't know it heart by heart. So for me, it was such a great testament of how you guys, from where we're sitting, it feels like your aim is to always point people to the cross, just in terms of how you raise your kids and so forth and so on. Do you guys feel like you have that responsibility also as a couple being in the industry to point people to the cross? And has that sort of affected the kinds of roles that you take? Gail, perhaps, Kabelo, that's why I was like, do you still call yourself Booga Love? Because I thought maybe it's not a name that you relate to anymore. So how has that dynamic sort of, impacted your lives, just in terms of you guys being intentional about pointing people to the cross?
And do you still sing Zonke?
I still sing Zonke.
My kids love Zonke. My
That's
kids
my
love
favorite.
Zonke.
Yeah.
They actually do. That's a loaded question. I think maybe top of mind is the word purpose. We're quite passionate about purpose and how, or rather every decision is made from what our purpose is.
Yeah.
Right? Does it, Gail has an uncle, Mike, who always says to her, protect your testimony.
Yeah.
Protect your testimony. And that we hold in high regard. Whatever we do should always be from a place of purpose. We're not perfect. We're not scared to make mistakes. And I think that's very important, because the word says figure out your own salvation with fear and trembling, right? Yeah. So, whatever role Gail chooses, me continuing to perform as a Kwaito artist, it's us figuring it out, but also understanding the tools at our disposal, the gifts bestowed upon us, to be used effectively, and we hold that in high regard. And with regards to family, it speaks to, family being very cross-orientated, speaks to always functioning from a place of purpose, It blesses my heart to hear you say that you saw Kumo, I think it was Psalm 23 he was reciting, that you saw, was Psalm 23. Right. It blesses my heart to hear you say that jolted you into, because that's what we do for each other, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you guys do that we feed off, and that's how it's supposed to be, because it's from a place of purpose, and purpose will always challenge people. functioning from a place of purpose will always challenge people, will always make people feel uncomfortable, and that's exactly why we're here, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I think, you know, I agree 100% with what Kabelo says, and I think also the choices that we make on how we run our lives have very little to do, to be honest, with wanting to impress or wanting to portray ourselves a certain way or doing it because we're in the industry. I think it's just personal choices that we made, which is part of how we gravitated towards each other in the first place.
Sure.
And then choices then that we make on how we want to raise our children. You know, when you go through premarital counseling, which I think is such an important key to healthy foundations, you start understanding the kind of parent you want to be, the kind of impact you want to have in the world, the kind of wife or husband you want to be. And then that informs the choices that you make, you know, in your family, how you want to raise your kids. You know, I come from a family where, you know, our spirituality and our faith in Christ was the foundation, you know, and I know what it's done for me. So of course I want to pass that on to my kids, and we want to pass that on to our children so that they have that to stand on, you know. So I think at the core of it is purpose, because we all are here for a reason bigger than ourselves. And I think even being the industry that we're in, if you understand that it's always bigger than you, that you are just a drop in the ocean, and God wants to use you to impact, and you're open to that and you surrender to that, that's all you need to be focused on, you know, and how it's received is really, it's not up to us.
I love that. I love the place that you're in. I love that the clarity that you have as it pertains to purpose. I'm curious though. There was an evolution that happened, right? There was change that happened within you. There were certain conversations that you had to have with yourself. There were certain conversations that you had to have with each other as you were pursuing finding it, right? My wife and I are always talking about finding it, and we need to find our sweet spot.
Yes.
I mean, coming from a person who's playing festivals, who's living la vida loca, who's, you know what I'm saying, and living that life. What were some of the difficult conversations that you had to have with yourself? So for somebody who doesn't have that revelation that you have right now, practically, what are some of the things that you had to contend with to say, for instance, can I continue singing the music that I used to create?
Yes.
Can I pick certain roles, and is it still okay in the context of being a wife? Does that change? Is that different?
Wife.
Now my husband is a pastor, right? How do you navigate those things, and what informs what choices you make?
Sure, love that.
Good question. You know, I think it's important to premise it by saying that no one was there when I was called.
Oh,
That's a word.
oh,
Like you were not there.
Onolikai.
You were not there.
Yeah.
One. Ne? Number two is then the context. You have to understand the context of who I am, right? Is what you saw, what the world saw in whatever, TKZ and, you know, the music, the festivals, that La Vida Loca. For sure. That person is a born-again, blood-washed child of the Most High God. People don't know that. I got born again in 1996. Sure. Way before all of this, right? So going through that, that's a righteous child of God doing all of that.
Yeah, that's good.
All of that, right? Struggling with whatever you struggle with, right? And like I said earlier on in my earlier comment, you know, I have to, there is a separation. What God changes in one's life is a person's character. He works on the character. Does not take away the gifts that He's bestowed upon you to advance His kingdom, right? I need to share this tidbit that also puts things into context, because we in the arts, that's our lane, right? There's I'm studying very slowly, you know, to get a Bachelor of Theology. And one of the documents we came across was something called the Cape Town Discussion. The Cape Town Discussion, in a nutshell, is the Church Universal throughout the world getting together every 20, 30 years. All right. And the Cape Town Discussion was like the third meeting of the Church Universal thing since the 40s. Right. So what happens, what emanates from this meeting, as you can imagine, the conversations that need to happen around what the church needs to focus on, where we're going as a body, you don't know, those kind of conversations. One thing that came out of this Cape Town Discussion, which really then, you know, fueled this conviction, because we were walking in it, is the piece around the arts and the church.
Yeah.
For too long, the arts have been forsaken by the church. The church has lost ground because it has forsaken the arts.
Sure.
For sure.
Right?
Which speaks to
the church hasn't understood, like, okay, what do we do with these people?
Yeah.
Do you know? And part of our purpose is also then putting the arts into context, right? And making people understand that it can be a weapon to be used for advancing the kingdom of God. So I always use this example. When Evander Holyfield steps into the boxing ring, Manny Pacquiao, any one of those boxers, these are Christians. Manny is a born-again, blood-washed Christian. Evander Holyfield is a born-again, blood-washed Christian, right? When they go in the ring, they're not going, oh, I need to punch softly because I'm a Christian. No, like they knock the living daylights out of you.
Yeah.
They do what they said they were going to do. This is what they call. This is the gift that God has called them to do. They do it full blast.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
And in that,
in that there's God gets the glory because you're getting somebody who's been gifted with knocking the living daylights out of you, doing it the way it's supposed to be done.
yeah.
Bring it back to us. Yes, there's nuances, roles, what she does, we interrogate. But the thing is, we've got to get in there.
Yeah.
We can't be kid gloves stepping into the world and going, ooh, I can't do this role because... No, you've got... That's how you take up ground because you know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
You're not confused about who you are. When I'm standing on a stage performing to 20,000 people in a festival and people are getting, high and whatever, I'm clear about who I am.
Yeah.
I'm clear. Even as I perform those songs, I'm clear. Now more than ever am I clear, right? And what? I'm working on a new album right now. This is not a shameless plug. I'm going to be stepping out.
Yeah.
We're having these conversations. Flip, you've been a pastor. Some people know you just as pastor. How are you going to be able to step out into the ring? I've got to be clear that when I step into the ring, I got to knock the living daylights out of what I'm doing. I got to do it.
Yeah.
How else do I take up ground?
Yeah.
Right? But then, because I'm clear about who I am, I know what's supposed to happen when I'm there.
Absolutely. Purpose, right?
I know what's supposed to happen when I'm there. It's not about the drug, sex, and rock and roll. We're on a mission.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can tell you countless testimonies of me walking in that and people being delivered in those spaces.
Yeah.
And how else would those people have been reached with the gospel, with the love of God, if I had not been in there?
I heard a pastor once saying, God said that we must be fishers of men. He didn't tell us which hook to use.
Yes, yeah.
100%. I'm going to hook. Paul says, be all things to all men so that I may win some.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
So you know what I love about you guys, Nem? And I think that's what attracted me to you. You guys are
Us,
this family.
all of us.
You guys are so much in sync, I mean, even now when you were sitting here, I was looking at you guys, just sort of the conversations that you have. You guys are friends. You are the bestest of friends, and I get the sense that there's a lot of alignment within your marriage. So what I'm interested to find out is, so Lerato and I have been having a lot of conversations about leadership, where I confess that I struggle with submission, right? So do you guys find, because I mean, Gail, you don't come across as, you're not overpowering, but you come across as someone who's got a very quiet strength.
Sure,
You know who you are bold, you are decisive. Do you find that you guys being in sync is as a result of great leadership or great submission? Where do we...
Bit of both.
A bit of both. I'm just interested in your dynamic.
Yeah.
Because it works. We can see it,
Yeah.
And were you always there?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I think several things, right? I mentioned earlier about just premarital counseling and the foundation it lays, right? Because then you know who you're marrying, right? And then secondly, I think we play both roles. There are certain places where I am strong You know, I think you posted once on social media that marriage is really two people being strong at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Right? Really.
Sure.
It's really,
that.
you're really at a point where both of you are here. You know, so sometimes I'm here and then he's there and then I need to draw from his strength and vice versa. I don't think we are in a marriage that demands submission. I think you submit by choice, and it's an honor to do, right? And I think it goes both ways. I don't think it's one-sided where, you know, I think we've been taught that the man is the head of the household, right? But there is a correlation between that and me being able to take my place comfortably as well. And it's not forced, where now because he's the man, I just have to agree with everything. I think we have very open, honest conversation. We are friends, so we have we talk a lot. And I think that really sets the foundation of how we interact, how we communicate, how he might feel I could have made a better choice here or better choice there. So there is a level of communication and friendship that I think is very much forms the foundation on how we interact and when he leads and when I lead. And I think it goes both ways, yeah?
I've just always felt it's nonsensical. You know, I always say, you know what, the goalies must be goalies and the strikers must be strikers.
Yeah.
There's no use putting a striker in the goalkeeping position, and there's no need putting a goalkeeper in the striker's position at any given time. So if she's a striker in this position, you've got to put the best person forward for what needs to be done, you know, and kind of have that dance, you know, back and forth. And sometimes we get caught in the crosshairs, but we try keep the main things, and you know, we don't take each other too seriously. And I think that's the benefit of the Holy Spirit too, you know. True, and you know, the Holy Spirit will be like, and then what's wrong? Like, just, you know. And that's the benefit, because and all glory goes to him, because it's him steering this ship, you know. From a submission perspective, you know, I always say, the word says, husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church, right? It's only afterwards it talks about submission to wives submitting to their husbands. It starts first by saying, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Then you have to go, how did Christ love the church? Like, the church was wrong, the church was a prostitute, the church is a piece of work. But he still, that for me says we need to submit more. And women can only submit when they see submission. Ooh. If they're not seeing it, like where from where?
I'd like to add to that as well. I mean, one of the things about marriage which blows my mind, because, you know, we've been married for 10, going on 11 years now.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's a huge milestone.
it's been a journey. You know, it constantly is a journey. I don't think anybody gets there and arrives to where you've got it all figured out, right? We constantly failing forward, constantly learning and growing as we go, as time goes. But I think one of the things that really stood out for me the last couple of years is we also go into marriage with a lot of expectations of self-fulfillment, right? We make it about us. What's in it for me? You go in and you're like, what can I get out of it? You know, and if I am not getting, then this is not working, right? But marriage really is a constant dying to self, which was an interesting revelation for me, right? Because you go in and you think, but this is not serving me. And that's how I think a lot of marriages maybe tend to struggle, because we make it about what we can get out of it. And what family and marriage has done for me is really go, it's not about me, right? That it is about serving. And I think it starts when you look at our purpose. I think when you look at it holistically, is really, we're born to serve, right? And if it doesn't start in our homes, then there's no point in it, you know, there's no point in you serving out there if you can't serve your husband, your children, your family,
Come
right?
on. Yeah.
So for me, when I got to understand that it is about me serving my husband, and I'm not saying worship, I'm not saying pray, and you know, I love doing it, but that's not the service I'm referring to, but constantly making it about how I can help him grow, how I can build him, how I can encourage him, how I can, you know, pour into him. And what happens, which is so beautiful, is when it's reciprocated, then it's this constant act of him pouring into me, me pouring into him. And when you get to that place in marriage, I think then it becomes so fulfilling, because then it does become about what I get out of it. But before you get out, you pour, and I think it's a beautiful place to get to, where you understand that I'm here to pour and fill his cup, as my kids would say, you dipping my bucket, and fill his bucket and fill my kids' buckets.
Yeah.
And the world dips our buckets. It does. You go out there and the world just takes and draws, and you want to come home to somebody who fills you, but you want to be, when it's reciprocated, it's beautiful. But I think when you understand that I've got to fill first, then you get that in return. I think it's been the most amazing revelation for me.
So, sorry, Gail, but have you always been like that though? Like, where does
No.
that level of self-awareness
No.
kick in? 10 years?
You realize this is what we are so curious
No, we're
about all the time.
curious.
We're like,
Yeah.
when did
And that's what people want to know, because a lot of people do struggle, right?
Yeah.
And we speak
We've
candidly
battled,
about
yeah.
our challenges, especially in the initial phases of our marriage. Like, we just didn't. We had those expectations.
Yeah, unmet expectations.
They were
and-
unmet because we obviously came.
Because when my wife says, this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah, like I was just like, listen.
It's not.
Yeah, and I've
Not
been there.
this man that you brought into my
Yeah.
life. So
I didn't think I would have worldly problems.
But the penny
Right?
dropped. Like Kabelo offline spoke about,
Yeah.
the scales coming off our eyes.
Sure.
That happened for us quite late. Well, like maybe 5
years ago.
Yeah.
But guys,
You know?
it would be erroneous of us to make it seem as if
We've got it figured
that we've got to figure it out, and that let me say this. I always say this to whenever I'm in a premarital counseling
session.
I'm like, think about what you guys have just done. You saw somebody in the street. You said, I like you.
Yeah.
You Haley Berry.
You come stay with me.
Yes.
Right? Two totally different. Yes, the person you choose in the street, there's certain, as it were, fundamentals that need to be in place. Does she love the Lord? Is she born again? The word says we should not be unequally yoked. There's certain things, I love the way she looks, blah, blah, blah. Then you kind of say, okay, fine. After that,
Yeah.
of course, there's
Yeah.
going to be, we can't sit here and say the first 5 years were a hop, a skip, and a jump.
No.
The thing is, we knew that we had made the commitment.
Yes.
And then after you make the commitment, you do the work.
Yes.
It's you guys aren't an anomaly that went through what you went through, or that arrived when the penny dropped 5 years in. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Because now this person's in the house, okay,
With all
and
their-
with all their things,
Their background, their
with
everything.
all their things, their societal, all of them.
Everything.
Societal conditioning, and then the unpacking starts. Where who am I in this? And then here's another thing. That's why we advocate for, dates and all of that stuff.
Premarital
Because
counseling.
when she fell pregnant, gave birth to Zoe, the girl that I met in the home cell, she's dead.
Okay, maybe not dead. She's evolved.
No, she's
But like,
She's evolved.
But I know what you mean.
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw Kumo into the mix. The mother of one is now a mother of two.
She's brand new.
I'm a father of
You're
two.
interacting with
I'm a
a brand
completely
new-
different person.
Wow.
How I react to life
That's
is going to
so
be
good.
completely different.
That's so good.
So then it's another,
Yeah.
okay, who are we? It's a
Sure.
constant,
Yeah.
it's
Failing
a constant dance where you make catastrophic mistakes. You say stuff that you're not supposed to say. Of course we went through that.
Yeah.
You know?
We still do.
But when you make the decision,
To stay.
love is not a feeling, it's a decision.
Come on, say it again.
You know, and then the privilege of being sons and daughters of the Most High God, the fruit of the Holy Spirit speaks about faithfulness. It speaks about a long suffering. It speaks about love, self-control. It's when you're in marriage and certain situations where you then go, or situations demand of you to answer the question, are you who you really say you are?
Yeah.
Because if you really say you are a child of the living God, born again, blood washed, whatever, where's the fruit of the Spirit?
Yeah.
Why can't you why can't you start to exude long suffering? Why can't you?
Yes.
Where's the faithfulness piece? Where's the self-control?
Yeah.
You know, like this is, you know, and the journey doesn't stop.
It doesn't. There's a quote I love. I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not remembering all of it, or it's the way it's supposed to be. But it says he loved her, of course, but every day he chose her.
Yes.
Choice.
Yeah.
That was the
Exactly.
thing. And that's the thing with marriage, is that we're not going to like each other every day.
100%.
You know, there are some days where I'm like, yo,
100.
I don't know if I like this.
Booga.
I don't know if I like it. You know? But choice.
That's what my mom says. Na buga lava ke morati na. My mom, buga lava na ke morati na. Na ke rata ka wena.
But choice, you know, and marriage is choice. Marriage is waking up every day and choosing to stay, because if we're gonna go off of feelings and how I feel, geez, the divorce rate would be.
But I think
10 million
let's
times.
also be. We're also not advocating for people to stay
No.
in situations where they're being abused and, you know, that whole begezela situation. Mosadi o tshwara thipa ka mo bogaleng. Like, why does Mosadi have to hold thipa ka mo bogaleng? Like, why does it even need to get there? Right? So I think it's in context. It's in what we're speaking of is in a context, a healthy context, a somewhat healthy context, where we both in
doing
it.
the work, yeah, absolutely.
We both doing the work.
Yeah.
We both want this. It's within that context.
Yes.
Because I also understand that it can get misconstrued to sound like
Begeze.
you must stay and beggars. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, obviously, if there's certain things that aren't in place and you are not,
And you're the only one doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's obviously you got to relook at what commitment looks like.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that you're saying everything that you're saying, because I think one of our convictions is that, especially when we have conversations with other people, with other couples, I think the conversation that is not necessarily being had as much as it should is the commitment aspect, the work aspect. Now, what we don't want to do is make the mistake of scaring people off the idea of marriage and be like, oh no, listen, right? We definitely don't want to do that. But I think there is enough of the great narrative when it comes to Kabelo and Gail, but it's that much more impactful when you're able to sit there and say, no, but we do the work.
Yes.
We didn't just get here. We did the work, you know, and every day we wake up and we choose to do the work. One day I realized that, you know what, my wife liked flowers 5 years ago. She might not like them today.
Now I want diamond.
Right.
Diamante. Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And what do you do with that? How do you evolve together? How do you grow together? How do you know?
I also link it to my journey as a recovering drug addict. My journey and people's journeys, because it's all connected.
Yeah.
You know, recovering from drugs, losing weight, becoming financially fit. Because all of those three things, and this is not a conclusive list, but these three things that I mentioned are connected to the person that you are and are becoming. And they force you to confront who you are. I've come to appreciate how people struggle to use weight, and I'll use weight as just as a kind of a microcosm of the bigger conversation. It's difficult because now losing weight is connected to challenging you about the decisions that you are making. And I've come to a place where I'm able to empathize with people who struggle, because it's not easy to look at yourself in the mirror and call yourself out and it's hard work.
Yeah.
Right? So financial fitness, it speaks to the core of you, what your relationship with money, what have you been taught about money? You know, mom and dad around money, lack, not having money, having too much. You know, and marrying somebody who didn't grow up with too much. You understand? All of those things go to the core of you having to face who you are. And financial fitness, losing weight, drugs, recovering from drug addiction, marriage,
Kids.
kids are all conduits to assist you to ask yourself these hard questions.
What I battle with is a quote that says, "The way you do one thing is how you do everything."
I was about to say the same thing.
Gail always
Sure.
says
That
that.
one, you
always
see
say,
that one.
How
yeah?
you do anything is how you do
Sure.
everything.
That one is tough for me.
Yeah.
You know, because it forces you then to look in the mirror and say, yeah, but you are where you are because of the choices that
100%.
you've made.
And you see if we can all admit that. It's the first step to recovery.
Yeah.
It's the blame game.
Yeah.
And I always, when people divorce, when relationships break down, whether it's friends and whatever, for it to mend, we have to own our part, independent of whether the other person owns their part.
Sure,
Because
that's deep.
you owning your part can't be conditional.
On,
It can't.
yeah,
That's deep.
100%.
It can't be conditional.
Because I'm commanded to love my wife,
Yes,
not on condition that she respects me.
100%.
Sure.
100%.
Sure. So I wanted to, guys, we could speak.
There's so
to
much I
Gail and
wanted to
Kabelo,
say now. I'm like,
right, and
like
we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on the
Jeez.
issue of grief. Gail, correct me if I'm wrong. You guys met the year your dad passed away, or did you get married? You got married. Wow.
Oh.
Sure. So my dad passed away in 2011, the year after we got married, and I feel like we struggled a lot. I feel like Lerato
I was just a
didn't
guy.
didn't understand. He wanted
didn't.
life to go back
Yeah.
to normal
Yeah.
immediately. He didn't understand.
Couldn't empathize.
He couldn't, right? He couldn't understand the amount of agony and pain that I was in, and he was just like, I want my wife back.
Yeah.
And Kabelo touched on, when you had kids, that person not died, but
No longer existed. They've
longer
evolved, yeah.
So do you feel like, Kabelo, I mean, you guys, it happened the year you got married. So did you feel supported? How did you guys navigate that huge loss in your life, in that fragile, phase of your marriage where you guys are trying to build, you're trying to learn each other, you're trying to find out who the next person is, what makes them tick, and you are in the trenches of grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting time because my dad walked me down the aisle in February and then passed away in June. July. Yeah. But prior to that, I'd lost my mom, I'd lost my brother. So grief, I already had like this love, like a hate relationship with grief and loss. And I think it does bring a completely different dynamic to a relationship or to a marriage because you meet someone, you know them like this, and you don't know them when they're grieving. And I think especially for men, it is not easy to see, especially someone like me who's very independent and self-sufficient and, I can do this, I can do that. To see somebody like that, I guess I don't want to say weak, but broken. I don't think it can be easy, because I think most of the time what happens is men just don't know what to do. It's not that they are not being supportive. They don't know how to approach the situation. They don't know what buttons to push. They just don't know. I mean, they've never been there. I think as women, we're probably better equipped just because of our makeup, how we are created, as mothers being able to comfort, and that comes naturally to us, right? But for men, I think it's different. So I think when my dad died, there was a sense of him not being sure what to do with me. But what that did for me was then grief a lot of times privately, which is also not healthy, right? Because I'd lock myself in the bathroom and then get it over with and open the door and get on with it. And I don't think that was healthy, but that was obviously in hindsight that I got to understand that what actually happened, and that came out for me during COVID, where suddenly, because you had so much time and now, and also death was just felt like it was everywhere. So suddenly all these emotions started coming up where I realized that I actually never quite dealt. I never quite grieved, So I think you can speak on your behalf, but I do think that he just didn't know what to do, and I could see. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it here privately, quietly. And I think I had mastered that, unfortunately. I had mastered the ability to grieve in my own space because I had gone through grief with my mom and my brother and a couple of other deaths prior to that. And I think what I did was master the art of just being there and putting out this strong facade, but then allowing myself to grieve in private, which isn't healthy, you know.
You know, as I sit here, I'm just thinking, because these conversations are happening a lot, especially when I sit with couples, right? And I'm just thinking now, I think when we have to be there for our wives emotionally, the struggle happens because it confronts us to deal with our emotions. That's what it does. So I want my wife back. Let's get going. Kind of puts a band-aid over it and it's gone and we move. Because then if I'm gonna come alongside you and empathize, I'm gonna have to sit in it and also deal with potentially my stuff, potentially grief I haven't dealt with, you know. And I say that because I can't remember what the context was, but I was advising a young man, you know, to not always try solve. You know, because I mean, she'd be honest about how she's feeling. I'm feeling like this, you know, bad day, or I'm upset that this is getting delayed. We've been trusting God for this, whatever. And I'd be very quick with scripture, you know, and like, no, but the word says this, no, but the word says this, no,
And
but
even with the grief,
the word says this, the word says this.
Yeah.
And it's only now.
Sure.
I remember telling this young man, and it was quite cool being able to tell him that, because I guess on some level I kind of feel I'm almost arriving there or making peace,
Yes.
or grasping the concept
Yes.
of going, I don't need to solve for her bad day.
Wow.
If she's having a bad day, I don't, because we get into who did it, why, why did they do? But why were you there? Why, you know?
You get militant.
Yeah,
about
and you want
fixing
to solve
yeah.
it. It's like, let's just sit in that for a while. Flip, it sucks. I'm sorry. Like, why does it make you feel like that? Nah, because I just feel we've been trusting God. Yeah, it's not cool. It's not cool.
And I've seen that transition. I think there was a time when it was like, let's just pray about it, you know, let's just quote scriptures and the word says. So if you're not doing that, you're not in sync with what the word says.
100%.
Right?
And it's that fact. I always used to preach this, but practicing it, I wasn't practicing it. Yeah, let's talk about the facts. I felt bad. It was a terrible day, blah, 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 blah. But we always end up in truth. So I can still empathize with her. Damn, it's not cool. Yeah, sorry we've had to wait for so long, you know. Stay there. But we have to end up
Back
with
it
truth.
up with truth, yeah.
We have to come
Back
back
it up
to
with the
truth.
word, yeah.
We have to, but what does the word say? The word says, those who put, you know, their trust in him will not be put to shame. His promises are yes and amen. David said, you know what I mean? Then we end up at truth.
Yeah.
Right? Fact.
This is how
I feel like this. Let's stay there. But truth is the word.
Yeah. Overpowers, yeah. That's the last word.
It's very interesting that you say that. I can sit here and admit today that my inability to show up for my wife on an emotional level, I've just learned that it's because there's certain things that I don't want to deal with in my life.
Sure.
And so it's easier for me to want to swoop in and fix it, right? Because somehow I've made this about me.
Very quickly.
Right? I've made it about me, and I've made it about your inability to move past it is an indictment on my ability to help you.
Sure. So like you couldn't fix it.
I couldn't fix it.
That's, yeah.
Where the truth is, but I haven't fixed things within myself.
Yeah, and she didn't ask you to fix it.
And she didn't ask me. Because sometimes she just wants me to be there, to listen.
True.
That's all.
Sure.
That is all.
This is true.
So vice versa, you lose a dear brother of yours, Dokolo, and what was the reverse like?
Yeah.
What did that look like? What was your experience of, and I'm asking you specifically, so to say, what was your experience with how your wife interacted with you grieving?
Sure.
Look, you see, where women excel, like 150% out of 100, is, and that's how they've been created. They walk through life. How do I say this properly? They are more in tune with their emotions than us.
Sure.
That's why girls can get together and have
Cry
and
and
cry
whatever.
and talk through stuff. That's why they can do that.
And heal.
And heal. It's a gift. It's a gift from God, right? So she's not. There's no ways in hell she was going to be me. She was always going to be A+ at this thing, in terms of being there for me, because that's what they do, right? So I didn't feel it at all. In fact, I felt supported. I was given permission to feel whatever I needed to feel. So yeah, it's a non-starter. That it does not happen the other way around. I mean, it would be an exception to the rule. Then you got to speak to, maybe the woman in question herself is damaged and going through her own stuff and all of that stuff. But 99.999 times out of 100, women are going to excel at that.
Now you've got, because if she doesn't respond like that, there are other issues that you actually need to fix. There are other questions now that are put on
Both
the
ways,
table.
Yeah.
both ways, not just for her, but also the relationship, obviously, that she has with the guy.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
But I think
Yes.
also with his loss, there was also it was harder to break through. It was I am all for break down now and let's all cry.
Yeah.
You're right. So for him, it was I would like check. Do you want to talk? Do you want to? How do you feel? It took a while to break through to that, and I think a lot of it was like, no, I'm gonna hold on to this. I'm not, because obviously breaking down just opens a flood of other things. Right?
Everything
So
else, and you want to be in
else.
control of what now
Yes.
ends up coming out.
I mean, even when you got the news, it was we were in Cape Town. I was shooting. We were in Cape Town having breakfast, and it was so like weird, how I would respond to news. Like, I remember when I got the news about my dad, we were busy. We were at
training.
kettlebells.
You
We
were
were training,
training.
doing kettlebells, and I just saw 56 missed calls. I'm like, what? And I just you just know.
Sure.
And I remember taking the call, and I was just on the floor. I was probably rolling. I was like, what is going on? I was like screaming, and like I didn't even know if I could drive home. And for him, he's like, yo, this just happened. And he's busy eating his chips or breakfast or whatever. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
You processing. I mean,
get
my
it.
wife's
Process
there.
differently.
No, the kids
my
are
wife's
there.
there. The kids are there. We're away on time away. You just.
But even
calm
that,
down.
like control, right? In control, like I'm not gonna show it now. I'm not gonna, because even then it was like maybe an hour or so into, okay, I'm gonna go to the room, and it wasn't like, okay, I'm coming. Let me just, So I think there was a lot of like barriers to get through, to get to that place where he could be vulnerable to me, and it was, and when it eventually happened, I think there was a lot of healing that came with that.
So I just want to find out from Kabelo. So you just mentioned that the kids were there, we were away. Is it a character thing, or did you feel the pressure of Indoda doesn't break down?
No, not at
No.
all.
Yeah.
No, not at all. It literally, it was, I'm still working out how the news of Jesus, is it true? Like, you're still going through the
motions, yeah.
because even after the first person told me, I believed it, and because they were hysterical on the other side, right? And then I was like, okay, cool. Another call comes in, you go, okay, this is it, okay? So it's just the,
How we process.
like I'm just processing like this thing, And I mean, even the word process brings up a way we fight.
Yeah.
right? And I think it only came.
You guys fight?
This is going to be good.
Disagree.
Not fight, we disagree.
And for the longest time, I could not put words to it, you know, but I would be out when we not in agreement. I would shut off.
Yeah.
But then I had to, when I found words to it, it was breakthrough for us. I'm like, listen, there's nothing else going on here, but I'm just processing everything. And just give me that space to process it. I mean, that was like heaven.
Is that thing my wife calls, when we have some of these discussions, she admits and she says, at the time I didn't have the emotional vocabulary.
Yes. To put words to something.
Words to
Hundreds.
something and say, well, this is, you know, how it is, which we often find as we're learning and growing. And
because what she would do, because I think she's much better at it than me in terms of vocalizing off the bat. This is how I feel. This is how you made me feel, you know, where I struggle at that. And I think it's, you know, it's connected to way deeper issues, you know, whether people pleasing, you know, what am I going to say that potentially might hurt? I'm still trying to like work it out, but it's an impediment that I have. And I think when you come to terms with it, you are then able to put it in context to say, you know, when I'm a certain way, just let me process this thing. I'm coming just now, you know?
Yeah, but I think, I'm not only am I like, maybe a little bit better in that department, but I'm also like, can we just bring back the energy in the house, right? Can we just bring back?
I want to sit under that.
Yeah, I also don't want to be like, you know, and I think you've definitely gotten with time,
Yes.
I think, grown in the ability to express yourself emotionally,
And
but
you know
also
what that
get
was
to it
connected.
quicker.
You know what
Like,
but you know what that was
days,
connected to.
Yeah.
When the penny dropped for me was when I was talking to a couple, and the girl said, "Oh, it's so easy for him to talk and blah blah blah," because he grew up seeing it modeled. His mom, his dad communicating how he felt at that time, whether it was in an argumentative state or whatever, but he grew up in that. She says, I've never seen that. What I've only seen is when my mom got pissed off, she went and shut the door. When my dad got pissed off, he left. That's what you grow up with learning.
Yeah.
That when we are in a vibe, we shut off and we don't deal.
Yeah.
And then you never see you only then see them start talking to each other again. You don't see the mending and whatever. So where do you learn this thing?
Yes, this is true.
Now you in situ. I didn't.
Speaking of dealing, you guys are dealing with us right now because wow. So because I mean we're going through a thing. We'll talk about it, guys.
We are?
What? No, not here. No, how our families deal with
conflict.
with conflict, right?
Yeah.
And how we are just sometimes not finding synergy, right? Because there's an expectation that, well, this is what I saw growing up.
Yes.
Why aren't you
Yes.
copy and paste?
Yeah,
Exactly.
and don't lose your train of thought because you were going somewhere. But
Yeah.
I think also that's why I keep going back to premarital counseling.
Sure.
Because, you know, I remember even with my dad, for example, my mom passed away first, you know, when I was 21. And I had some issues to work through with my dad, right? And it's only when I started understanding what his point of reference was that I was able to be receptive of how he expressed love, affection. Before it would frustrate me. But when you know that he's doing the best he can with what he knows what to do, right? That for me then extends grace. That's why when you go into premarital counseling, you understand this is where I come from, this is who I am, this is why I am the way that I am. It doesn't excuse behavior, but it does give you context to go, I get it. Okay, so how do we then change the narrative for our family? Because we need to create a new way that's probably better
Healthier.
and more healthy. And then you start making choices, understanding that our kids are watching. You're not going to get it right all the time. We're not perfect. But you go, okay, we're intentional about what it is we want them to see or what we want to model to them, you know? You wanted to say something. I hope you haven't, because the previous one.
And then you have to close.
I'm closing it.
You have to take it
It's a
home.
goodie. It's a goodie. What's your favorite thing about being married to Kabelo?
You're going to throw me first. I I spoke last lunchtime.
Ladies first.
Wow.
What is that other one? Beauty before age? Age before beauty. Yeah.
My favorite thing. Sure. We don't have a lot of time.
Oh wow.
Oh wow, that's an answer in itself.
No, I'm serious.
That was a good one.
No, seriously, we don't have a lot of time. I think, I got married at 28, and I think it's one of the best decisions I could have made, because it really just, I think, gave me direction, purpose, and I think just helps steering what it is that God is trying to do through me, right? One shall put 1,000 to flight, two shall put 10,000 to flight. And so there is a lot of power in unity. So I'm grateful that I married him, because I just feel like my purpose is clearer just for me, and with us being unified, where there's unity, God commands a blessing. And with us being one, I just find that, number one, I think I went to I don't know if it was a seminar, or if it was just a church service with a guy. He normally speaks at marriage seminars, and he said, you just want someone to do life with. Life is real, guys. Life is not always a walk in the park. And to have a best friend to do it with and alongside just softens the blow. Kabelo is my best friend, and we have, over the last 12 years, because we've been together 12 years, we have, I think, really created a world for ourselves where we get to share this life thing together. Sometimes we look at parenting and we just go like, yo, look at us. Or we look at life and we go, look at us. And I think to have somebody to do life with is really, really a blessing, because you can have fun, you can have success, you can have all these things. But I think he does sharpen me. He sharpens me. When I'm weak, he gets to be the stronger, one. And I'm just grateful for that. I mean, that's to sum it up. I mean, I could speak all day, Wena?
You going to ask me the same question?
Yeah, sorry. Give me a second, please. I was just clearing my throat. I thought it was, this is what happens in my household. My wife said, I thought it was obvious. So, give me a second.
1 + 1.
Kabelo, what is your favorite thing about being married to Gail?
Yeah, I have the privilege of having had the time to think about it while she was answering.
Man, that's what I was saying.
But even as when you asked it, the first thing that came to my mind before she even spoke was, like, people don't know how funny she is. Like, that's one of like we laugh, like we laugh at each other.
We laugh at other people.
We laugh at people. We just
laugh at situations.
It's just, I think if it's, I mean, you were saying the other day about laughter and the medicine piece, and just laughing.
Yeah,
like, I think laughter, is there's like a mischief, naughtiness thing, that like I can't wait to tell that one.
No, we share DMs on Instagram like, yo, look at this,
So I think that's the best part, at the top of my mind.
Actually,
now,
It's the funniest.
I mean, everything that she said, I share the same sentiments, being sharper, being kept accountable to purpose, all of that stuff. I mean, she's gorgeous.
Come on.
I like
Stunning.
it.
I mean, that's a win. Sometimes when I'm like, ish, where can I draw strength from? And I just look, I'm like, okay,
what do you want?
I didn't know one minute. I'm like, I gotta try. Look.
Okay, what do you want?
You know when you just, man, takbo.
The chips are done, boy.
Yes. No, Mama T.
Listen, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
so much for being here.
Thank you for being so open and human, right? And letting us in. I think we just really have a heart for people, and and helping each other figure it out, right?
Yeah, man.
And part of helping each other figure it out, have the conversation.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree.
Yeah.
You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a debate. You know, sometimes you're allowed to sit back and be like, wow, I just, you know, and the fact that you've given us the gift of being people is really the greatest thing, you know, for me from today's conversation. So thank
And for me, guys, thank you so much just for radiating the love of God. Thank you for, before we started the conversation, I spoke about another couple that said they live what they believe. And from this conversation also, and just from like really observing, you know, you guys also embody that, you know, and we just really want to thank you. And then Rokopa play date.
Play date.
And it will not be on Instagram.
No, the play date is coming.
But we love you guys.
Yeah,
we
thank
appreciate
you. We love you guys.
Thank you.
And congrats on the
Thank
new
you.
edition.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Do this to ourselves.
Governors like,
It's public knowledge, right?
Yes.
Alright.
By the time.
by the time.
Okay.
No, it already is.
Now it is.
So how far along?
Yeah, next
No,
year,
no,
Chief,
no.
next year.
We don't talk. We don't
Next
talk.
year.
Yeah, we'll tell you in private.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
okay.
don't be laughing at us now with your wife to say, did you see when we asked them? Like,
But you know, black people don't really say.
Bolo.
Yeah, no.
When, how far.
You can't even wear tight top
Yeah,
that
like
shows.
you mustn't tell people when the babies come in. You mustn't tell those
okay.
clothes.
I mean, wow.
Governors like, free yourself from
Guys,
bondage.
even the sunset's free. It's free. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us once again on this incredible installment. My cup is full. I trust that your cup is full.
Yeah.
And
Gosh,
this so much to say.
Another riveting installment of Here's a Thought with the Bags. I love you.
I adore you, baby.
Yeah.
One time,
Too
too
real.
real.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
peace and
we're
blessings,
out.
people. We out. You know
Love
what it
you.
is.
Bye.
Until next, don't go anywhere.
Yes.
Ciao.
Ciao.